At just 20 years old, he inherited a kingdom surrounded by enemies. 12 years later, he ruled the largest empire the world had ever seen. His armies crossed deserts, mountains, and continents. He defeated kings who commanded forces many times larger than his own. Cities surrendered at the sight of his banners. Entire civilizations were transformed by his arrival. Yet the most astonishing part of the story is this: the man who conquered almost the entire known world died before his 33rd birthday. So how did one young king achieve what no ruler before him could? And why did everything unravel so quickly after his death? To understand how Alexander changed history forever, we have to go back to a moment when he was just a boy standing in front of a horse that nobody could control. That moment revealed something extraordinary, something that would define the rest of his life. Alexander was born in 356 BC in the kingdom of Macedon. His father was King Philip II, one of the greatest military leaders of his age. His mother, Olympias, believed her son was destined for greatness. From childhood, Alexander received an education unlike any other prince. He trained in warfare, horse riding, leadership, and combat. But one event made people notice him. A trader brought a magnificent horse to Philip's court. The animal was wild and uncontrollable. Every rider failed. Alexander watched carefully. Then he noticed something others had missed. The horse was frightened by its own shadow. Instead of forcing it into submission, Alexander turned it toward the sun. The horse calmed down instantly. Moments later, the young prince was riding it across the field. The horse became famous as Bucephalus. It would carry Alexander through many of his greatest battles. His father reportedly told him, "Find a kingdom worthy of yourself. Macedon is too small for you." Soon, another influence would shape his future, a philosopher named Aristotle. Under Aristotle, Alexander studied science, philosophy, politics, literature, and geography. More importantly, he learned to think beyond the borders of his kingdom. He began to dream of something much larger, a dream that would soon be tested. At 16, Alexander got his first taste of power. While Philip was away campaigning, he left his son in charge. Many saw an opportunity. A nearby tribe rebelled. They assumed a teenager could not stop them. They were wrong. Alexander crushed the revolt and established a new settlement on the captured territory. It was his first victory, not his last. Over the next few years, he fought alongside his father in major campaigns. He learned how armies moved, how battles were won, and how leaders inspired loyalty. Then everything changed. In 336 BC, King Philip attended a royal celebration. Before the event ended, an assassin struck. Philip was dead. Suddenly, a 20-year-old Alexander became king. His enemies moved immediately. Greek cities revolted. Rivals plotted against him. Neighboring tribes prepared for war. Many expected the young king to fail. Instead, Alexander responded with astonishing speed. He marched across Greece. One rebellion after another collapsed. The city of Thebes resisted. Alexander destroyed it. The message was clear. The son of Philip was not weak. And now that his throne was secure, he could pursue the dream that had obsessed him for years, the conquest of Persia. But Persia was no ordinary enemy. It was the most powerful empire on earth. In 334 BC, Alexander crossed into Asia. He commanded roughly 40,000 soldiers. Ahead of him stood the vast Persian Empire. The odds seemed impossible. His first major challenge came at the Granicus River. Persian commanders waited on the opposite bank. Crossing under enemy attack was extremely dangerous. Many advised caution. Alexander ignored them. He led the charge personally. The attack shocked the Persians. By the end of the battle, Alexander had won. The victory opened the gates of Asia Minor. City after city fell. Some surrendered willingly, others resisted. One of the toughest was Halicarnassus. Massive walls protected the city. Persian defenders fought fiercely. The siege lasted for months. Eventually, Alexander prevailed. His reputation grew with every victory, but the real test still lay ahead. The Persian king himself was coming, Darius III, the ruler of the largest empire in the known world, and he was determined to stop the invader. The two rulers finally met at the Battle of Issus. Darius commanded a much larger army. On paper, Alexander should have lost, but battles are not fought on paper, they are won by decisions. Alexander identified a weakness in the Persian line, then he struck directly toward Darius. The move created panic. As the fighting intensified, Darius fled the battlefield. His army followed. The Persian king had abandoned his own empire. Alexander had shattered the illusion of Persian invincibility, but he wasn't finished. To secure the Mediterranean coast, he turned south. One city refused to surrender: Tyre. Located on an island and protected by enormous walls, Tyre appeared impossible to capture. For 7 months, Alexander searched for a solution. Then he attempted something extraordinary. His men built a massive stone causeway through the sea. Slowly, they created a road to the island itself. When the walls finally fell, the city was conquered. The victory stunned the ancient world. Next came Egypt. Unlike Tyre, Egypt welcomed him. Many Egyptians saw him as a liberator. Alexander founded a city there, Alexandria. It would become one of the most influential cities in history. Yet his greatest battle was still ahead, a battle that would decide the fate of an empire. In 331 BC, Alexander marched toward Mesopotamia. There, on the plains of Gaugamela, Darius assembled a massive army. This was the decisive confrontation. If Alexander lost, everything ended. If he won, Persia would fall. The battlefield favored Darius. The terrain was prepared for chariots and large formations. Numbers favored Persia. Experience favored Persia. Resources favored Persia. But the strategy favored Alexander. As the battle unfolded, he created a gap in the Persian line. Then he launched a devastating cavalry charge straight toward Darius. Once again, the Persian king fled, and once again, his army collapsed. The result changed history. The Persian Empire was finished. Alexander entered Babylon in triumph. Soon after, he captured Bucephalus, the ceremonial heart of Persia. The empire that had dominated the region for centuries was gone. Alexander had achieved what many believed was impossible, but success only made him more ambitious. Now he looked east, toward lands few Greeks had ever seen, toward India. Alexander's march into India pushed his empire farther than any previous conqueror. Many local rulers surrendered, others fought. The greatest challenge came from King Porus. Their armies met at the Battle of the Hydaspes River. Heavy rain soaked the battlefield. War elephants thundered across the field. The fighting was brutal. Alexander eventually secured victory, but something unusual happened afterward. Instead of humiliating Porus, he honored him. Impressed by his courage, Alexander allowed him to continue ruling. It was one of the most famous moments of mutual respect in military history. By now, Alexander had reached the edge of his soldiers' endurance. For years, they had marched across continents. They were exhausted. They wanted to go home. For the first time in his career, Alexander faced an enemy he could not defeat: his own army. Reluctantly, he turned back. His journey of conquest had reached its limit. So how did Alexander conquer the known world? Not because he had the largest army, not because he had the most resources, but because he combined vision, speed, leadership, and battlefield innovation better than any rival. He inspired extraordinary loyalty. He adapted to different cultures. He took risks others would never attempt. And again, he turned impossible situations into victories. In just 12 years, he built an empire stretching from Greece to India, an achievement unmatched for centuries. But Alexander's greatest enemy was not Persia. It was time. In 323 BC, while planning new campaigns from Babylon, he suddenly became ill. For nearly 2 weeks, his condition worsened. Then, at only 32 years old, he died. The exact cause remains one of history's enduring mysteries. Without a clear successor, his empire fractured. His generals divided the territories among themselves. Yet Alexander's influence survived. Greek culture spread across 3 continents. Trade routes expanded. Ideas traveled farther than ever before. And centuries later, rulers still studied his campaigns. He conquered an empire. He changed civilizations. And more than 2,000 years later, the name Alexander the Great remains one of the most powerful names in human history. If you enjoyed this documentary, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to AY Mega Facts, and let us know in the comments which legendary ruler or empire you'd like to see next.